Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 30 minutes. US judge says probable cause exists to hold Donald Trump administration in contempt of violating deportation order, gives April the 23rd as the deadline to comply with court order or face prosecution. US media says Trump blocked an Israeli strike on Iranian nuclear sites in May in favor of negotiations. IAEA chief in Tehran warns Iran not far from possessing nuclear bombs. Ahead of US-Iran talks in Rome on Saturday, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi to visit Moscow to hold consultations with Russian top officials. Another blood-red ending to the trading day in the US. Nasdaq S&P 500 fall as US stock losses deepen. Semiconductor giant Nvidia AMD tumble as Fed chair says tariff will fuel inflation and constrain growth. Good afternoon to all our viewers joining us at this afternoon broadcast. To begin with the latest that we're tracking for you from the US. Well, Trump administration officials have said that a criminal court contempt has been charged and the US federal judge's order that halts deportation of alleged members of a Venezuelan gang who had no chance to challenge their removals. DD India's Antra has got more details. Take a look.
A US judge has found probable cause to hold the Trump administration in contempt over its handling of a deportation case involving alleged members of a Venezuelan gang. The ruling from US District Judge James Boasberg escalates the ongoing clash between the executive and judicial branches, with the judge accusing the administration of willfully disregarding a court order to halt deportations to El Salvador. On March 15th, Judge Boasberg issued a temporary restraining order blocking the deportation of over 200 Venezuelans. Now, in a written opinion, the judge concluded that the government engaged in deliberate or reckless disregard of his order when it nevertheless proceeded with the flights. The deportations were carried out under the rarely invoked Alien Enemies Act, a wartime law dating back to 1798. He further allowed government a final chance to purge such contempt or it will face further court action. The White House has said the administration would seek immediate appellate relief, framing the deportations as necessary to protect American communities from what it called terrorists and criminal illegal migrants.
The enforcement mechanism is exactly what Judge Boasberg is doing. He has found probable cause that they violated his court order. And if a jury convicts, the administration officials responsible will be subject to criminal penalties.
The latest legal battle also ties into the case of Kilmer Abrego Garcia, a man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. A judge has ordered Trump to facilitate his return, an order upheld by the Supreme Court, but his government has said the court did not have the authority to order it to have him returned. White House says Garcia was engaged in human trafficking.
Democrat officials still refuse to accept the will of the American people. Maryland Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen rushed to Dulles Airport this morning to fly to El Salvador, potentially using taxpayer dollars, to demand the release of deported illegal alien MS-13 terrorist. Kilmer Abrego Garcia is an illegal alien MS-13 gang member and foreign terrorist who was deported back to his home country.
Meanwhile, Democratic U.S. Senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, tried to meet Garcia in El Salvador but was denied access.
Why is the government of El Salvador continuing to imprison a man where they have no evidence he's committed any crime and they've not been provided any evidence from the United States that he's committed a crime? So they should just let him go.
The Trump administration faces more than 150 legal challenges to its policies. Wednesday's ruling by Judge Boasberg is the closest any court has come to suggesting punishing the administration and escalates the confrontation between the judicial and executive branches. Antara Sinha for DD India.
California sued the Trump administration on Wednesday, challenging the president's authority to impose sweeping tariffs that have set off a global trade war. The lawsuit, which was filed in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California, seeks to block Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs on foreign trade partners, accusing him of abusing his powers and inflicting financial harm on the state and the nation. Democrats asked a judge to bar the Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Protection from enforcing the tariffs. The act enables a president to freeze and block transactions in response to foreign threats, but does not allow the president to adopt tariffs, the suit says. Well, California's move follows rapidly changing tariff plans by the Trump administration. The lawsuit also argues that enacting such tariffs requires approval from the Congress. Israel has expanded its military control in Gaza, converting 30% of the territory into a buffer zone. The Israeli military has achieved operational control over key areas and routes, striking 1,200 targets and conducting targeted eliminations. Israel has proposed a 45-day ceasefire, which includes hostage release and Hamas disarmament. However, Hamas says its weapons won't be a subject in negotiations. Israel continues to block humanitarian aid, citing it as a pressure to prevent Hamas from using it as a tool. The International Court of Justice will hold hearings on Israel's humanitarian obligations towards Palestinians. The situation remains dire on both the sides. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is pushing to get hostages held in Gaza released. He met with his negotiating team and security chiefs to discuss the situation. According to his office, Netanyahu instructed his team to keep working towards securing the hostages' release. Meanwhile, the Israeli army released a video showing its troops operating in Gaza. Defense Minister Israel Katz said Israeli troops will stick around in the buffer zones they have created in Gaza, even if a peace deal is reached. Now, this comes as efforts to revive a ceasefire agreement have hit a snag. Since restarting military operations last month, Israel has taken control of a big chunk of Gaza, pushing over 2 million people into smaller areas. Israel says it's a complex situation and it's unclear what will happen next. The conflict has caused significant displacement and humanitarian concerns. US President Donald Trump has blocked Israel's planned strike on Iranian nuclear sites, opting for negotiations instead. According to the New York Times, Israel had planned to attack in the month of May to set back Iran's nuclear program by a year or more. Trump decided to pursue diplomacy after months of debate. The US and Iran recently held positive and constructive talks in Oman, with a second round scheduled for Saturday in Rome. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi will visit Russia on Thursday to consult with Moscow regarding the latest talks between Iran and the United States in Oman. Araghchi will meet with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov and other senior officials during the visit. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson said Araghchi will discuss the latest developments related to the Oman talks with Russian officials. Russia, which is a party to Iran's 2015 nuclear pact, has supported Tehran's right to have a civilian nuclear program. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Mariano Grossi, warned on Wednesday that Iran is not far off from making its own nuclear weapons. In an interview to French newspaper, Grossi said they have the pieces and one day they could eventually put them together. Grossi is visiting Iran in an attempt to narrow the gaps between Tehran and the agency over unresolved issues. The IAEA chief met with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in Tehran on Wednesday ahead of a planned second round of talks between Iran and the United States in Rome on Saturday. Grossi described his meetings with Araghchi as important. He is also expected to meet Mohammad Islami, who heads Iran's nuclear energy agency. Moving on, Puerto Rico was hit with a massive power outage after energy plants across the island unexpectedly shut down on Wednesday. People were seen filling pins with fuel for their electric generators at home, and many businesses were forced to close. Locals expressed frustration, stating that the outrageous power outage have been occurring too frequently. Power generator Genera stated that it was working to bring backup units online and investigate the cause of the incident. Puerto Rico has long dealt with chronic power outages, including a blackout on New Year's Eve as well, as its infrastructure crumbles. And Peru has extended the state of emergency in Lima and Callao, introducing a new regulation that limits motorcycles to a single rider. Now, this decision, announced by President Dina Boluarte, aims at curbing urban crime by targeting criminals who use motorcycles for illegal activities. The measure allows the national police and armed forces to maintain public order. The Peruvian government stated that these restrictions are crucial for reducing crime rates in the capital and surrounding areas as well. Now, Serbia's parliament on Wednesday approved Đuro Makut as prime minister following months of anti-corruption protests that led his predecessor to resign. The vote was a formality since the Serbian Progressive Party of populist President Aleksandar Vučić has a majority of 156 deputies in the 250-seated parliament. Opposition parties had demanded a transitional government prior to elections due in 2027, which Vučić and his allies rejected. The new government will have 31 ministers, 22 of whom served under former Prime Minister Miloš Vučević, who resigned amid protests that began in November following a roof collapse at a train station in Novi Sad. Daily rallies led by students spread across Serbia and became the biggest challenge in Vučic's 12-year-long rule, with protesters denouncing widespread corruption and incompetence. Argentine retirees clashed with security forces in Buenos Aires on Wednesday during their weekly protest, prompting police to deploy pepper spray. The confrontation unfolded as the demonstrators tried to block traffic near the Congress building, escalating tensions with riot police. Now, since the month of March, the protests have grown increasingly confrontational, reflecting deepening frustration over retiree rights and the government's handling of the issue. The retirees are opposing President Javier Milei's austerity policies, which they argue have severely affected their quality of life by eroding their purchasing power and limiting access to essential medications and healthcare services. And now it's time to take a look at other stories making news around the world in brief. 5 critically endangered Brazilian merganser chicks were born at Prague Zoo, marking the first birth of the species outside South America. Once thought extinct, the species now has fewer than 250 individuals in Brazil and Argentina. Prague Zoo aims at expanding breeding efforts across Europe ahead of a future reintroduction to their native habitat. The New York International Auto Show, North America's oldest automotive exhibition, is celebrating its 125th anniversary this year. Show President Mark Scheinberg reflected on the event's remarkable history and enduring impact on the car industry. Scheinberg highlighted electrification, connectivity and self-driving technology as key trends, gaining attention at this year's show. The show opens to the public on the 18th of April and runs until the 27th of it. Individuals assembled in front of the Eiffel Tower holding placards bearing messages of peace, while the iconic landmark glowed with the word peace in English, French, Hebrew and Arabic. The gathering featured participants displaying signs with slogans like ceasefire, free the hostages, all in support of a peaceful resolution in the Middle East. Tulip fields were seen in full bloom that drew spring visitors to Turner's Hill, which is a village in West Sussex in southern England. Over 1.5 million tulips, representing more than 100 different varieties, were planted for the annual Tulip Fest. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. Union Home Minister Amit Shah says Naxalism will be eradicated from India by March 2026 at the 86th CRPF Raising Day celebrations. Defence Minister lauds India's growing stature in world at the Defence Conclave 2025 Force of the Future. And Northern France sets world record with whales flying at the International Kite Show.
Nature gives and we take, and sometimes a little too much. But what happens when this balance tips, and who is the most impacted? Let's take a look at some of the solutions that are trying to help these communities.
We want to encourage people to consume more local products. These were caught in environmentally friendly nets, not farmed. That makes a huge difference.
Project Tangaroa. It's working to build a global framework that can help identify which wrecks need to be taken care of first and find the funding for cleanup missions.
We use SLR organic fertilizer for our plants. With organic fertilizer, the yield is better and the soil's health improves.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India Live. Now, 86 Central Reserve Police Force Raising Day celebrations were held in Madhya Pradesh's city of Nemoch today. Union Home Minister Amit Shah attended the event as the chief guest and inspected the parade contingent. Addressing the cadets, he praised the forces, recalling their major contribution in fight against terrorism and Naxalism.
हमेशा सीआरपीएफ ने देश की एकता और अखंडता बनाए रखने के लिए अपना सर्वोच्च बलिदान देने में कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ी। हमारा सीआरपीएफ इस देश का ही नहीं, पूरी दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा अर्धसैनिक बल होने का गौरव सीआरपीएफ को प्राप्त है। सीआरपीएफ के जवानों ने नक्सलवाद को समाप्त करने की दिशा में बहुत बड़ा योगदान दिया है और मैं आज आपको कहकर जाता हूं कि 31 मार्च 2026 इस देश में नक्सलवाद हमेशा के लिए समाप्त हो जाएगा। ये प्रण जो है वो आपके ही दम पर इस देश ने तय किया है।
Home Minister Amit Shah gave away gallantry awards to CRPF personnel. The CRPF Day is celebrated every year on the 19th of March, as it was on this day in the year 1950 that the flag was presented to the force by the then Home Minister Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Now, this year the parade is being held on the 17th of April as part of extended celebrations. CRPF has played immensely important role on many fronts, ranging from integration of princely states to internal security, counter-insurgency terrorism operations, international peacekeeping, VIP security and disaster management. And today it is the largest and most decorated paramilitary force across the world. Now, Naxal-affected states are making all efforts to deal with the menace to ensure that the government's target of completely wiping out Naxalism from the country by the year 2026 is achieved. On the 22nd of Wednesday, Naxalites were arrested and explosives were seized from them in separate operations in the Bijapur district of Chhattisgarh. Tiffin bomb, card expire, gelatine stick, detonator, battery, electric wire and ground digging tools were recovered from their possession. Defence Conclave 2025 Force of the Future began in New Delhi today, and Union Defence Minister Rajnath Singh delivered a keynote address in which he asserted that India is now self-reliant in defence with a strong industrial base that not only meets India's need but also exports to the world. He warned that future conflicts will be unpredictable and will be fought in many domains, such as cyber as well. He further expressed confidence that in the wake of uncertainty of global supply chains, India has emerged as a reliable partner to the world.
आज भारत का डिफेंस सेक्टर यहाँ सेल्फ रिलायंस के रास्ते पर आगे बढ़ रहा है, वहीं ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन्स को भी रेजिलेंट बनाने में बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाने को तैयार है। साथियों, आज के कुछ साल पहले तक सारी दुनिया भर के डिफेंस कंपनीज अपनी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के लिए उन ग्लोबलाइज्ड और कॉम्प्लेक्स सप्लाई चेन्स पर निर्भर थी जो दुनिया के कई देशों में बिखरी हुई थी, स्कैटर्ड थी, मगर उनकी प्रोडक्ट डिलीवरी समय पर हो जाया करती थी, जिसे लोग जस्ट इन टाइम डिलीवरी मॉडल कहते हैं। अब दुनिया का डिफेंस सेक्टर जस्ट इन टाइम की जगह जस्ट इन केस डिलीवरी मॉडल की तरफ बढ़ रहा है। साथियों, भारत का मेक इन इंडिया प्रोग्राम हमारे देश के डिफेंस प्रोडक्शन को तो मजबूत बना ही रहा है, साथ ही दुनिया की डिफेंस सप्लाई चेन को भी रेजिलिएंट और फ्लेक्सिबल बनाने की कैपेबिलिटी धीरे धीरे बना रहा है।
President Draupadi Murmu on Wednesday gave an assent to the Protection of Interest in Aircraft Object Act 2025. The Protection of Interests in Aircraft Objects Act 2025, passed by the Indian Parliament, aligns India's aviation laws with the Cape Town Convention 2001 and its aircraft protocol, to which India acceded in 2008. The Act aims at strengthening aircraft financing and leasing by providing legal clarity and uniformity for high-value assets like aircraft, helicopters and engines. The Act also addresses past challenges such as delays in aircraft repossession during airline insolvencies and support India's growing aviation market, projected to be the third largest by the year 2030. And as part of the ongoing supply of relief material and humanitarian aid to Myanmar under Operation Brahma, India sent further aid on the 15th of April. Aid included components of 20 prefabricated offices weighing approximately 50 tons. They were dispatched by IAFC 17. The structures will be used as temporary offices for various ministries in Naypyidaw. Further, 2 IAFC 17 were deployed to bring back the doctors and personnel of 60 para-field hospitals post-de-induction. The 200-bedded field hospital has successfully provided treatment to 2,519 patients over the past 2 weeks. Under Operation Brahma, India was the first responder to the earthquake-hit Myanmar that took place on the 28th of March and has provided relief supplies of approximately 750 metric tons, including essential medicines, food grains and more. Further, humanitarian assistance consisting of a 80-member NDRF Heavy Urban Search and Rescue Specialist team and a 127-member Indian Army Field Hospital team were also deployed. INSV Tarini proudly entered Cape Town on the 31st of March this year, marking the successful fourth leg of the all-women-led Navika Sagar Parikrama second, sailing over 23,400 nautical miles aboard a 100% Indian-built yacht. This mission also showcases India's naval strength, indigenous shipbuilding and the spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat. DD India's Nazneel Ismail reports. Take a look.
In a moment that symbolizes the growing strength of women in India's armed forces and the nation's rising prowess in maritime technology, the Indian Navy sailing vessel Tarini entered South African waters in Cape Town on 31st March 2025. The arrival marked the successful completion of the fourth leg of the Navika Sagar Parikrama II, a historic transoceanic expedition led by a female duo. Lieutenant Commanders Dilna Devdas and Rupa Alagirisamy, the two brave officers navigating this challenging 8-month journey, aim to cover more than 23,400 nautical miles in 8 months, with a scheduled return to Goa in May 2025. The expedition has so far had 3 stopovers at Australia, New Zealand and the United Kingdom.
Navika Sagar Parikrama is a great example of India's maritime technology and shipbuilding capability, because we do not have as many yachts as the other countries have, but still we have been able to successfully complete 3 other navigations, and we are in our last leg to complete the 4th circumnavigation.
As you all know, Tarini is here on her circumnavigation voyage, and it is also a testament to strong bilateral relations between both the countries, and especially both the navies, the South African Navy and the Indian Navy.
In armed forces, we give equal opportunities to men and women. So as women, we are getting opportunities, like we are everywhere, like we are able to command a ship, and we are flying, and we are posted in the ship as a medical officer, as a logistics officer. Initially it was not there, so it is a great shift which have happened now.
Lieutenant Commander Dilna and Rupa, along with many other women officers, volunteered for the expedition. These officers went through rigorous training program, and we shortlisted Dilna and Rupa in May 22.
It's an honor and a privilege to be an Indian and to do this voyage as part of Indian Navy. And we always have taken the opportunity to fly our tricolor flag, and whenever we have achieved a milestone, and we celebrate it with pride by flying our flag.
Sail safe!
As INS Tarini embarks on her historic journey across the oceans, she carries with her not just a female duo, but the spirit of India and the promise of progress. History is being written in salt and steel. I'm Nazneen, witnessing this historical odyssey for DD India, Cape Town, South Africa. Jai Hind.
On the 38th edition of the International Kite Meetings in northern France, kite flyers from several different countries broke the world record for whales flying simultaneously in the sky. Take a look and enjoy the visuals. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.